History and Culture podcasts are a production of PCN, a nonprofit television network. Listeners like you make our programming possible. To learn more about PCN's mission and to support PCN with a donation, visit pcntv.com. This link and others can be found in our show notes. We appreciate your support.
Welcome to PCN's History and Culture podcast. I'm Phil Beckman. This podcast series features interviews exploring Pennsylvania's rich history from the colonial era to industrialization, the Gettysburg Campaign to sports history, and from art to politics and more.
We're here with Signe Wilkinson, former editorial cartoonist for the Philadelphia Inquirer and the Daily News. What is the difference between political cartoons and other kinds of cartoons?
Well, the title political cartoons may give you a tip-off. It's not just, funny characters like on the comics page. They're actual people doing funny things, according to the cartoonist. A really great medium of commentary, political commentary that is quickly understood if it's a clear drawing, and is a relief from reams of type that's usually nearby. So it's a visual commentary rather than a printed commentary.
And what are political cartoons used for?
But a publication hires a cartoonist or uses cartoons, again, as a way of visually commenting on the news. And a cartoonist is just a commentator who knows how to draw and is not all that interested in spelling. So drawing your image rather than describing it in words is what we do.
How long have political cartoons been around?
Well, pretty much forever. Cave drawings perhaps were starting it, but in the United States, there are cartoons from the colonial era and before, making fun of all our heroes in American politics.
Let's start with the colonial era. Where were these cartoons first published back then?
Well, Benjamin Franklin had a press in Philadelphia, and he'd have to do it one-off, press. There's one copy, press. There's another copy, press. There's another copy. So that's how it started, and that's how it, it changed as technology changed. So by the time you're in the Civil War era, there are newspapers being printed 1,000 at a time or many thousands at a time. And so those cartoons are, mass circulated.
Could you walk us through the process on how the early cartoons were printed?
Basically, from what I've seen is they are sort of lithographs and, are painted or put on one at a time on the presses, inked, pressed, and then the next piece of paper is put on. It was a little bit more tedious process than it is now. They're beautiful. They're artworks in themselves, and you can really see the line. You can see the paper. You can see what it's surrounding. It's if anyone has an interest in it, I'd go to a good library in their town, or not library, but a historical society in their town, and they would definitely have cartoons from whatever era you're looking for.
What role did Benjamin Franklin play in introducing political cartoons to North America?
Well, there you said it. He wasn't the first to have them, but he was the first to really use them and to hire cartoonists to actually do them. So yeah, that's great grandfather of cartooning. And we're happy he decided to do it in Philadelphia.
Where were his cartoons published?
Well, as I said, some of them would be in papers, but they could buy cartoons by themselves as just being printed off. But he had newspapers. Benjamin Franklin had newspaper of his own. Others did too, and they could appear in those.
Did he have any notable cartoons that he drew?
Well, he never drew them. He had other people draw them. So, I guess the most famous one is Join or Die.
Do you know what the meaning of the Join or Die cartoon was?
Well, it was propaganda for the colonial cause of independence from England. That's what it was about, and it was to get all the colonies on the same page to confront the English overlords of the time.
Did it achieve what he was hoping it would achieve?
Well, Benjamin Franklin worked in many, many, many ways. It was one thing that probably helped the cause. It publicized and rallied the troops, sort of, braced people for what was coming. But Benjamin Franklin and the others of that time were writing pamphlets, putting up public posters. They were speaking loudly and as a group and as individuals. So it would be hard to say what these by themselves, but if literacy was not what it is today, they gave the people who weren't reading a chance to see something that they could figure out what it was about.
Why do you think this cartoon was so impactful?
First of all, there aren't that many. I mean, there were cartoons, but Benjamin Franklin owned the presses, so he was able to, maybe not owned them, but he worked with them and was able to use them as means of getting his political point of view out.
What impact have political cartoons had on politics over the years?
It's hard to tell. I mean, there's no, first of all, politicians do not admit that they changed course or did something differently because of a political cartoonist. Most of them hated cartoons and cartoonists and were vocal about that. It's hard to tell, but cartoons attacking someone or making fun of them, they rallied readers and said, yeah, I agree with that. That guy's an idiot who's in the Senate or the local government.
Are there different types of political cartoons?
Well, right now there's so many different ways of visually dealing with politics that it's hard to separate what is a cartoon versus other media. But politics. I mean, the problem with political cartoons now is that newspapers are shrinking fast. They're only about 30 or so, and maybe 40. I'm not sure. In the country who have political cartoon or who run political cartoons on paper, and I don't think. Well, let me rephrase that. I think there are only about maybe 30 or 35, 40 possibly cartoonists in the hired daily cartoonists in the United States. Most of them are probably not on staff or payroll. Whereas when I started, I was a hired member of the editorial staff of the Philadelphia Daily News first. Well, actually, first the San Jose Mercury News in California, which is where I got my start. Thank you, California. And then came here where I am today in Philadelphia. And later, the Inquirer's really terrific cartoonist Tony Auth retired, and the Inquirer started using me as well. So that's how I was distributed here in Philadelphia.
You talked a little bit, like you just said, about your experience with political cartoons. What drew you to them in the first place?
Gosh, it's kind of a good question, except I did do like a sixth grade paper for my elementary school that had a drawing in it that was a political drawing. So I guess that was my start. I did not save it. It's not going to any library anywhere. But yeah, I like to draw, and I'm interested in politics. And so it just, it was something I just naturally had the abilities, I guess, and the interest to do.
Can you walk us through the process of when you sit down to make a cartoon? What thoughts go through your head? How do you get the idea?
Well, reading, just reading, because good writing it uses good imagery. So when somebody, when a writer writes about somebody, being a donkey's ass, that's an image I could use. Or they're usually not, I mean, the writers are usually more discreet than that, but, the images in good, vivid writing can often lead to an image that could translate into a cartoon. That's one way. I mean, it's other, everybody does them differently, and I think different days, different things, spur your imagination or your visual thinking.
What are some topics that your cartoons covered throughout the years?
Oh, well, what didn't they cover? I mean, there was politics of all sorts, local, national. It would, I did a lot on women's rights and social issues, poverty, and the fun issues, the really punchline worthy issues. But I just look at the world and see what was happening. Did a lot on education, schools. I did, a lot on women's rights, and of course, a lot about politics.
Can you describe some of your favorite works for us?
Well, describing a cartoon is like killing it because it's there is an image, but it's like you're asking me to choose between my little children. All 6,000 of my little children. So it's it's hard to pick out one in particular. I have a number in little books of collections of them. I'm kind of a privacy rights fanatic. So here's one about a teacher saying "one nation under surveillance," and the kids are looking, and there are cameras all over the buildings nearby. That one I really like. I also am a techno peasant, and so I did not start in the internet generation or the online generation, and so me and computers were never the match made in heaven. So I did this one on how I feel about all the websites that I have to take care of. I like to do a lot on social issues. Like during the course of my career, people out defending the flag and not wanting the flag desecrated always amused me because so much of retail sales depend on the flag. So I did this one. Under the flag burning amendment of the Constitution, this would be the appropriate and inappropriate displays.
Is there anything you find challenging about creating political cartoons?
I think you have to do an image that fits the person that you're or the topic that you're trying to express yourself on, and particularly people. You have to do caricatures of them, and some people are easier to caricature than others, and some of them, you have different feelings about the person, so it depends on how long you're going to make their nose, how ugly their hair, whatever, to describe them in a cartoon. It depends on the cartoon and the topic and the person or issue it's about. I mean, I do not make fun of handicapped people, little children. I do make fun of religious people, not for their religion, but for ways they use the religion in a destructive, or in my mind, way. I'm glad if people find solace in whatever religion they practice.
Lastly, we talked about earlier how newspapers are becoming a thing of the past. What is the future of political cartoons if there are no newspapers?
Well, that's a very good question. I wish I knew, but I retired a few years ago before that question really got answered. But now some of my colleagues do very well on Substack. They have pages, they advertise them, they use them on social media to attract more visitors. And there are a number of cartoonists, including my friend Ann Telness, who is just a genius cartoonist and has many, many, many tens of, not hundreds of thousands of subscribers to her Substack column. And there are a number of other cartoonists who are doing very well, maybe not that well, but they're doing well. But that's a hard road to go. It's the other thing about it is it's kind of lonely. It's a solitary way of working. It's you and your drawing board in your house these days, because you're no longer part of a larger organization, a newspaper. I mean, one of the joys of my life was drawing my ideas for the day and then taking them into my editor and having him go, no, really? I don't. So, I mean, having that human contact was really great.
We've been speaking with Signe Wilkinson, former editorial cartoonist for the Philadelphia Inquirer and the Daily News. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. This is really fun. And I'm so glad you recognized our wacky little profession.
Listeners like you make PCN programming possible. Full episodes of PCN's history and culture content, like the interview you just heard, are available to stream with the PCN Select app. Explore other documentary programs, event coverage, and a lot more. To learn more about PCN's mission and to support PCN with a donation, visit PCNTV.com. This link and others can be found in our show notes. We appreciate your support.